Welcome, everybody, to Claude for Word. AI-powered drafting comes to Microsoft Word. I'm Mark Hogue, chair of the Beverly Hills Bar Association's AI in the Law section, along with my co-chair, Amanda Harris. And I'm the founder of HogueLaw.ai, an AI-first law practice where I provide a la carte and fractional GC services for AI-first startups and solo vibe coders, while spending my nights and weekends hopelessly addicted to vibe coding apps myself, because of course I do. Also, just a quick heads up, we're hosting a fireside chat with Stanford's Mark Lemley on AI, IP, and the law. It's a short but sweet 30-minute CLE session this Friday, the 24th at 12 noon Pacific. So be sure to sign up if you haven't yet. And if you don't know Mark, he's recognized as the most cited scholar in IP law, with his work cited by the US Supreme Court 17 times. So if you sense my sort of giddy hero worship about this, well, you're not exactly imagining it. All right, so with that, I'm delighted to introduce today's speaker, Stephen Smith, the CEO of Intelligence by Intent, where he provides AI strategy advisory and training to law firms and professional services organizations. He's delivered AI training and strategic guidance to over 1,000 organizations with a focus on practical adoption, governance, and measurable ROI rather than theoretical overviews. Stephen brings over 25 years of executive leadership experience, including CFO and SVP RevOps roles at multiple organizations and strategy partner roles at IBM Global Services and TCG Advisors, developing growth strategies for Fortune 100 technology companies. He holds an MBA from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania and writes the Intelligence by Intent newsletter at smithstephen.com. And with that, let's get started. Stephen, please take it
Awesome.
away.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the intro. Let me go ahead and jump in. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to share my desktop. And let me get rid of the Zoom here, and we'll jump into the presentation. I assume everyone can see it all right. Let me just move this chat out of the way here. So again, I'm Steve Smith. I'm the CEO and founder of Intelligence by Intent. And I want to spend time today talking about a great new capability from Anthropic, the add-in for Microsoft Word to reference Claude, and it's great. So I'm going to jump into a couple of slides first, then I'll go into some live demos because I always find a huge amount of value in seeing this work in person. And because of the way my screen is set up, I won't be able to see questions. So if there's any questions, Mark or if the administrator can actually just let me know, I'm happy to jump in. So let's talk about the problem today, right? It's the workflow that every lawyer knows, right? You open a Word doc. If you want to use an AI tool, you copy text out of it, you go put it back in it, you describe what you need, you lose the formatting, you repeat this process again and again and again, right? This context switching is a huge issue. The time it takes to copy and paste and format, you don't have an audit trail, and you're effectively having to re-explain yourself to the AI every time you do this. So Anthropic's been listening. They have really been at the forefront of adopting Microsoft Office into their tools. And they really have three ways now to work with Word documents. So for those of you that use Claude, just the general chat at Claude.ai, right? You can actually upload a document in there. You can have a conversation with it. And it actually understands even there around track changes and modifying the document and doing things. And in my view, it's really kind of best for one-off tasks, right? Upload a single document, work on it, save it back out. There's another way to work on these documents as well. If you have the Claude app, there's a product in there called Cowork. And what's really unique about Cowork is Cowork lets you work on a bunch of documents at one time. In fact, you can point it at a directory and have it analyze, 5 Word documents and 5 Excel spreadsheets or a whole bunch of things in there at one time. For those of you that have seen me demo it, I've actually had it do, Bates numbering and convert docs into PDFs and figure out what they are. Cowork's an amazing tool, and you can also work on Word docs in there. And the thing that's really interesting about using Cowork is you get access to a longer token context window. So when you're using the Claude AI chat generally, you've got access to about 200,000 tokens, which is about 150,000 words. If you go into Cowork and access either the Opus or Sonnet models in there, you get access to the 1 million token context window. So you've got access to about 750,000 words. You can actually reference a lot more documents and do a lot more work at once before it starts to compact the conversation and run out of memory. But the thing we're going to talk about today is the Claude for Word add-in. And this is, as I said, an amazing addition. You have to download it. I'm not going to go through the process of doing that. It's pretty well documented. You can find YouTube videos on it. But once it's in there, it lives in your Microsoft Word in the sidebar, right? It never leaves your documents. It allows you to edit things natively in there. And it's amazing for daily drafting, contract review, redlining, things like that. And so what can the add-in do? And before I jump in, I'll pop to it for a second just so you can see what it looks like. If I just go to Word here and I'll just open up a blank document. Here on the right-hand side, you can see Claude. And if I hit Claude, right, Claude lives over here. I'm going to move the chat window out of my way again here. Oh, hold on, let me do this. Sorry, you guys can't see it. There we go. But it sits over here on the right-hand side, and you can select your model. I mean, I always live in the latest version of Opus because I think it's the best model out there. But it allows you to edit the document. And again, we'll go into live demos in a second, but I just wanted you to see where it was as it sits there on the right-hand side. So some of the use cases that you can do, and I will demo a lot of these. One thing is you can just ask questions about your document, right? So if you've got a 20, 50, 100, 500 page Word document, you can ask questions about the content in there. You can ask for summarization. You can ask it to find things. You can ask it to jump to various areas. It's a really powerful editor, right? Another thing you can do is you can do text editing. So you can highlight a passage in that document and you can ask Claude to, revise it, to tighten it, to rewrite it. And it preserves all your formatting, all your numbering. So if you've got tables in there, if you have structured paragraphs in there, if you've got, different kind of citations in there, it's very, very good about maintaining that. And it's really, really excellent. The most useful thing I think for lawyers is the ability to track changes. And again, I'll show you this live. But every edit that you do or that Claude does for you appears as a native Word track change. It will show you, and it actually uses, because it's logged in as you, right? It's showing your name as the person making the edits, not showing Claude. And depending on how your document is configured, right? Deletions show up in red, insertions in green. And then you have the ability to accept or reject each one individually. So it gives you a tremendous amount of power to go edit these documents and do these things. You can do comment threading, right? You can leave comments in the margins. Claude reads each one. It can react to those. It can reply to those. Something that is relatively new is template filling out. So let's say that you're working with a client and you're filling out an RFP or a structured document for an order, right? Claude can now actually fill out tables and structured documents and again, keep all that formatting in place, which for a lot of organizations is a huge, huge deal. And the last thing you can do is really semantic search. So maybe you don't know exactly the phrase that you're looking for, but because you're using the power of Claude, probably Opus 4.7, that is an unbelievably powerful LLM. So you can go search for, portions of the document on meaning, right? Not just a keyword match. So you can actually go find things. So these are just a couple of the things that Claude can do, this add-in. And again, in a minute or so, I'm going to show you a bunch of different examples. So as I said, the feature that everybody cares about the most is track changes, right? It's like, every edit is a red line. You can review it like associate work, right? You can accept things, you can reject things, you can comment on them, you can change things individually. You don't have to accept them all. You can do them one by one. It really is a powerful, powerful use case, right? It leaves comments, it can manage comments, it can read comments, it can respond to comments. So it's really good. As I said, formatting stays intact. And again, nothing is auto-applied unless you tell it to go do it. So that to me is really, really important. It's not like you're handing control over to this Claude add-in for Word. You're maintaining consistency and you're maintaining control. The other thing that to me, when I learned about this feature was absolutely a killer feature is if you've got different open documents, if you have open a Microsoft Word document and you have open a Microsoft Excel document or a PowerPoint document, and you're logged into the same session of Claude on all these documents can now talk to each other and get information from the other documents, and it has complete understanding of what's in there. So some of the examples here, so let's see, you're working in commercial real estate, right? If you've got a Word document open and an Excel document open, you can say, hey, go pull the 3-year base rent and escalation percentages from the analyst spreadsheet and put them into section 4 of this lease. In fact, I'm going to show you an example of doing just that. So it's no longer, hey, go copy paste, go grab this, maintain the formatting. Claude can actually do that for you, and it's absolutely fantastic. Another example, if you're doing some M&A due diligence, right, cross-reference the diligence tracker against the draft report and flag every gap. Again, so you can actually, use an Excel tracker against a Word narrative report. So you don't have to go from Word, you don't have to be in Word and go, from Excel or PowerPoint. You can be in Excel and draw things from Word or from PowerPoint or things like that. Or if you're doing a board presentation, you could say, hey, take this 20-page memo and the Q1 financials and build a 12-slide board deck, right? So again, this to me was a killer feature. They were the first one to do it. I don't know of anybody else that has built this yet. And again, when you see it, it's amazing and it works fantastically well. So, kind of where does this fit in the legal practice today before we jump into the demos, right? So contract review and redlining, right? You obviously get, huge time savings as you can go do it. You can upload an opposing counsel's draft, right? Ask Claude to flag all non-standard indemnification language, identify missing, limitations, liability provisions, et cetera. Right? You can do brief drafting and editing. You can start from something. You can start from nothing. You can ask it to simplify language. You can change terms. You can look for consistency. There's all sorts of really interesting use cases that this unlocks. As I mentioned, sort of due diligence and cross-referencing, the fact that you can now actually compare across documents. Let's say you've got different versions of a draft memo you've been working on. You can, if you're using CoWork, you could have Claude open up and look in the Word add-in and start comparing different versions of paragraphs, of changes, of things like that, compliance reporting, et cetera, et cetera. So a couple of things before you use it. So, and this is really important. Right now, this is still a beta product. Just like CoWork was a beta product, and actually CoWork went GA about a week and a half ago, which is fantastic because it opens up auditability and a lot of other things. And right now it's only available in the team and enterprise plans, which candidly for attorneys is great because you shouldn't be on the individual or the pro plans, right? You shouldn't be on any free ones or consumer ones. Right now, chat history does not persist in between sessions. So if I go into this Word document here, and again, I'll give you a really simple example here. I'll say, hey, I'm going to say, write a story about cats, make it really interesting. Okay. If I come over here to Opus and I say, hey, actually, the story should be about dogs, make it about dogs. So add a comment, but don't change anything yet. And then actually add a second comment to that because it should really be more about St. Bernards, not just about dogs. So I'm going to paste that in here. And it's going to go ahead and work on the document, and you'll see it in a second. It will add comments into here. And again, this is a really simple example. I'll show you some legal ones in a second. But what I want to show you is you can see here, it's turned on track changes. And so you can see the first comment, because I said, hey, let's make this a story about dogs instead of cats. It added that comment in there for me. And then I said, hey, let's narrow it further, make it about St. Bernards, right? So I could now tell it to correct those changes or add those if I want to do that. And it will actually show up as track changes in here. I could say, hey, make sure track changes is on and go ahead and make those edits for me. And the point I wanted to make, if I go back to the slides for a second here, is, as I said, chat history does not persist in between sessions. So if I were to go in here and if I were to go open up a document again, and you'll see here, by the way, see how it says allow once, right? Before it does an edit for me, it asks my permission, right? So if I've got a lot of changes and things, you can see here, write a story about cats, it deleted that, make it real interesting. Right now it's write a story about St. Bernards. So, but again, if I open up this if I close this document and open it up in the future, it's not going to have those changes in there, right? They do retain some data for 30 days on Anthropic servers, but again, because you're on a team or enterprise plan, they don't train on it. So the last thing I want to mention before I jump into the demos is, please remember your ethical obligations when you use any AI tool, right? You are the lawyer, the rule 1.1 competence applies to everything AI assisted output. Please, please, please. And those of you that have seen me present before, I say this in every presentation, make sure that there is human output from anything that AI generates, right? So you can see the rest of the stuff, but I want to jump into the demos. They're far more interesting. So the first demo we're going to do is contract redlining. So I'm going to open up a vendor agreement. And down in section 6, there's an indemnification clause, right? And let me actually open this up and I will scroll down to it so you can see it here. So I'm going to come down here and I come down to section 6, the indemnification clause. And let me open up Claude here. We'll get this loaded. And okay. And what I'm going to do is the thing that's unique about this indemnification clause is it basically makes the client fully responsible for any and all claims, right? It's a very one-sided clause. I'm going to go grab this prompt that I've got. And by the way, I'm happy to share these prompts. I don't think these were in the original output, but I'll see if we can get these sent out as well, because it is useful to see the prompt. So I'm going to tell it, hey, review section 6 of this vendor agreement. I'm representing the customer, Meridian Industries. The indemnity is drafted in the vendor's favor and far too broad. So turn on track changes and do these things. So I'm going to paste this in so we can go watch it activate here. So I'm just going to go in here. And so, this is the kind of clause that I would anticipate anyone on this call might create. And I'm going to go ahead and say go. And so what it's going to do is it's going to go figure out, hey, where is section 6 in this document? Because it'll also realize that headlines aren't on. So it's got to actually sort of read through the document, figure out where it is. It's going to go read that section now. Then it's going to make a series of recommended changes as it goes through this. So we'll let this go for a second. I'm going to talk about the second example while this is running, and then we'll kind of bounce back and forth because I want to make sure that there's time for questions at the end. So the second example that I'm going to run is comment-driven editing, right? So I've got, a document where basically, I've gone through and I've made a bunch of comments in it as if I'm, an associate writing for a partner, and I want them to actually go through and make it, review all the comments and make a bunch of changes in it, right? Things like, tighten this, simplify that, add a citation here. Claude will read each comment, make the edit, and then do the replies in the thread. So I'm going to let this go here. So this is still working, but what you can see here is it's going through each of the suggested areas, right? Near the customer's indemnity, right? Direct damages only. And you can see here, it's also adding the comments in here. I'm going to wait till it's all done. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. So you can see where it's adding text, where it's deleting text, it's changing text. And what I can do now is I can either apply all of them at one time, or if I only wanted to do one, I could apply them one at a time. I'm going to go ahead and just say, apply all these with comments, right? And you can see here, just like a human would, it's going through, it's redlining, it's changing, it's doing things. And again, it's a super, super powerful add-in. It's incredibly useful. So let me go load up the second document, because the third one is the one that I think you'll find really interesting, where it actually ties across both Microsoft Word and Excel. But let me open up the second one here. And again, this is a real looking opposition brief, right? There's a bunch of pre-staged comments that are in here. If we scroll down, right? Tighten up this paragraph. It's one long sentence, break it into 2 or 3, right? It's the kind of comments that, a smart person reading this would go do. So I'm going to open up Claude again. And so let's say you'd gotten this, and I'm just going to tell it, hey, look, I've been given a brief with partner comments, read each comment and revise the brief to incorporate the feedback. Work through each comment in order, use track changes so I can see what's changed. When you're done, respond to each comment with a short note describing how you address it and mark the comment as resolved. So again, this is very much what a human reviewer would do, perhaps an associate working on this document. I'm going to go ahead and say go, and you'll see it start to go through it. We'll think about this. And again, I like to run these live. I did save these in case they, in case Claude happened to be overly busy today, but it's useful to watch this happen. And so you can see here, it's going through, it's going to reason through the 5 edits before drafting a response. So it will actually read the entire document. It will look at the comment. It will understand what the comment means, and then draft a smart, adjustment to the document back. So again, while that's going, I'm going to go ahead and tee up this next example here, because this one is really interesting. So this is one where I've got an Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of financial data, and I'm going to open up a Word document as well that's got an engagement letter. And it's got some things where I basically have pasted in some, some bracket areas where I want it to go pull specific information out of the spreadsheet and actually put it into the Word document as it goes back and forth. So again, really easy to do. And whether you're using it with Word or PowerPoint or Excel, it's easy to go back and forth. So this is still going on. So while this is going on, I'm going to just go open up the spreadsheet for a second so you can take a look at that. Again, trying to be cognizant of time here. And so what's in this spreadsheet, and I'm going to make sure that Claude is open, because this is the key. When you're going back and forth in these documents, you've got to make sure that, Claude is open. And then if it's open, it can reference any other document in there. In fact, if I ask this right now, what other documents can you see? It would actually understand all those other Word documents that are open. But what's in here, so this is the Callaway and Rhodes LLP, right? There's an hourly rate schedule in here, for the partner, for the senior associate, the paralegal. And then there's some fees by matter phase here, right? So here's the different, the phases, the descriptions, the target completion dates, the hours, the estimated fees. And so it could be that we've got a team of people working on this document, and there's always an updated one. And what I don't want to be doing is having to go back and forth and figure out, did I always get the latest version? Is it in there? Is it not in there? Things like that. So we'll automate that. But let's just go back here real quick. All right, this is taking a long time to go through this. I mean, I guess it's only been, reasoning on this one for 38 seconds, but let me open up the version here that's done just so you can see what it looks like, because I want to make sure we have time for the other document. So what this did here is it went through each of the comments, right? And actually, it read my comment, made my changes, marked them as, hey, this comment has been completed, right? It's all done. Everything is, changed and marked as where we want it to be. So again, it's really, really good at going through, it deleted things, it changed things, it added text. So again, all those instructions that I asked it to do, it went through and did. So here it's going through. I mean, I could say apply it here. Yeah, so it's got all these different changes. So I'm going to stop this just for time purposes so we can get to this other demo. So I'm going to shut this one down here. I'm going to say don't save. I'm going to shut this other one down here, and I'm going to say don't save. And let's get rid of our St. Bernard one here. We can delete this. We don't need that. And let me go open up now here this other document for demo 3. And I'm going to go grab the prompt again. And so I do want to talk about this prompt for a second. So I have the engagement letter draft open with the yellow highlighted placeholder. So if I go into that engagement draft here, right? So there are yellow highlighted placeholders here for the partner rate, the senior associate rate, right? So I sort of created a templated document here, right? Phase 1 fees, professional fees, things like that. If I go back and I look at the prompt and I say, hey, pull the information from the budget spreadsheet, pull all the corresponding figures from the spreadsheet into this engagement letter, fill in every placeholder token, use the engagement summary section at the bottom of the budget, format dollars with a dollar sign and 1,000 separator for the billing cycle and target completion, use whatever is in the engagement summary. Once done, remove the yellow highlight and bold for each inserted value so it reads as finished text. So again, a pretty comprehensive prompt. So I'm going to go make sure that, yes, Claude is open here. Let's go in here. Let's open up Claude. Maybe. Come on, Claude. Whoop, hold on. Let's try it again. Open up. This is the joys of sometimes in a beta product, it always doesn't work. So let's try this. Let's shut this down again. Don't save. Let's just open that document back up. And if not, I'll open up the completed one. You can see what it did. Oh, here we go. Oh, it does not want to load today. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So let me go ahead, make sure this is here. I'm going to paste this open here and I'm going to tell it to go ahead and go. So as I said, what it's going to do, it'll pull the figures from the Excel spreadsheet's engagement summary. Let me first check that there's already been shared. And you'll see if I actually go over to the Excel here, Excel's like, hey, I'm already starting to select, different cells. You can see it's syncing. So it's receiving messages from the other one. I don't have to do anything in the Excel spreadsheet. It's getting that automatically from the other document. And so it's going through, no shared data yet. I've accessed Excel for the engagement summary values, and it'll fill in the placeholders once it gets it back. So it doesn't know them. So basically you can see here, Excel is going through, it's saying, hey, I got a request. Let me read all this data. Let me create a JSON structure. And now I've shared this engagement summary. Here's the hourly rates. Here's the phase fees. Here's the total pass through. And now it's waiting for the word agent to confirm. So again, this is a great way to go through. So you can see here now it's going through and you can see it's starting to fill in the rates. There's the, the partner rate, there's the other rates. And when it's all done, it will then go back and finish that other formatting we asked about getting rid of the yellow, getting rid of the bolds, and things like that. So again, a super powerful use case. I've also used this with PowerPoint, where I've been in a presentation and I said, hey, I need you to go get the latest chart from this Excel spreadsheet and get this summary from a board document, right? And put this in here and format it properly. And it works great back and forth. So we'll let this go, resolve the billing cycle conflict. So it actually identified an issue in here. And when it's done, it will let me hit apply on that. But it's clearing out all the values. So you can see that, again, it followed all those instructions. And what I get at the end is a very nicely formatted document. Everything looks really, really good. It's to confirm everything that's in there. So we got a few minutes left. Let me just go to the last example briefly here. And that's just document Q&A. So, I'm going to load up a 20-page document and basically say, hey, where are all the termination triggers? And then I want you to create a table at the end for me. So let me go ahead and load this here. Let me load up this last one. And this is a long asset purchase agreement. Let's open up Claude over here. And let's go grab this phrase and say, hey, look, I'm doing a quick read on this APA before a call with the client. Identify every provision in this agreement that allows a party to terminate, walk away, or get out of any deal. Include the section number, which party holds the right, the trigger condition, any cure period, any termination fee or other financial consequence, and present it as a table for me at the end of the document. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to go, and I'm going to let it run. But I'm just going to open up the completed one because I do want to get to the last slide or two and get to Q&A at the end. So I'll let that run, but I will show you what it looks like because it basically ran in the same document. If we go all the way to the bottom, because again, this is a long document with things embedded all over the place. And a lot of times it's hard to find things that are deeply embedded, but it basically, you can see here, created this termination right summary for me. Here's the section, the party with the right, the trigger, the cure period, the financial consequence. So I went through and, so there's stuff in section 5, 7, right? 8, 12, all over the place in this document that might not have been obviously available to everybody that was going through and seeing that. So that was the quick example. So again, what I would suggest you go try and do on this is, go install the add-in, right? It's really easy to do. Just go Google, go to Google and say, hey, install Claude add-in. It's a combination of doing it through the product. So you actually have to go into, Microsoft Word and go into add-ins and say, just search for Claude, then it will go get it. And try it, right? Take some of the low stakes documents, give it a try, use the suggested edit mode, right? Try the cross document workflow. As I said, that is an incredibly powerful use case, and, and go at it. I mean, again, it is an incredible product. It works with really long documents. And most of you have seen this. Look, I do a lot of work with a lot of clients. Mark, thank you for the intro. I train people, I do executive workshops. As Mark said, I've got a newsletter. It's a free resource at smithsteven.com. I publish about legal AI stuff and examples all the time. So again, it's free to go look at. But with that, I'm going to stop sharing and just see if there's any questions in the Zoom in the last minute or two here that I can answer. So I'm looking to see, I don't happen to see any. So I don't know, Mark, if you happen to see any earlier that I missed, or if anyone has any, feel free to jump in and ask any questions.
Yeah, so if you can't see them, I mean, there are definitely a few.
Oh,
Shall I start from the top and go down? I mean, they're
yeah,
all
please.
good, frankly. So the first one is whether Claude, if the edited documents retain metadata that recipients of the document can then access to see, for example, prior changes and questions that are highlighted for a client. I think they're referencing the metadata only, not the track changes in the document.
Yeah, so it doesn't, I don't think you can access the metadata like in like the file information and things like
Correct.
that. That's separate. Yeah,
Okay,
it's just
cool.
it's just editing the document model itself.
That's what I figured. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Worth asking, actually, is the vision capability of Claude still baked in? So is it going to pick up handwritten notes in the margins, for example, as well?
I don't believe it's built into this version yet. I have not seen that capability, Mark. Yeah.
Coming soon.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Or the reality is, I'm sure if you actually did it in Cowork, right? Or if you did it in the Claude AI chat, because that has vision, I don't believe the add-in specifically has vision.
Right.
That's where I think the difference is.
So I think the biggest, most concerning question to everybody then comes down to the privacy and confidentiality issues. So for instance, it looks like this is obviously in beta for all the different plans, but
Yeah.
obviously only the enterprise plan, which is priced, if I'm not mistaken, these days, $20 per seat plus
Well,
APIs, right? So
yeah. So
how
there's
does a solo
there's two different
practitioner,
pricings. So
right?
there's a Teams version which goes up to 150 people,
Mhm.
and that's $30 a month if you're on monthly, or 25 or $20 a month if you subscribe annually, right? And you get all the confidentiality, all the privacy. You're on a corporate license, not a consumer license, or a commercial license. If you go into the enterprise plan, the enterprise is aimed for 150 people and above, right? It's hard to get if you're smaller than that. And that's basically $20 a person now plus API costs. There's no built-in subscription. They've changed the pricing model. So for most firms, if you're under 150 people, you go to the team subscription, but you get the complete privacy and confidentiality. I mean, the difference is some audit rights and some things like that. But even when you're using these beta products, it falls under the commercial privacy term. So you're completely covered. So you can use the beta products. It's not training on the data. It's not capturing your documents, things like that. So you're in good shape if you want to use the tool. Same thing. That was the same way that Cowork launched as well.
So even for a solo practitioner, then this would price out in a reasonable way, because that's one of the questions here as well. So I know,
Oh
for
yeah.
example,
So
the only other tool which does is the GCAI word plugin, right? And they're at 500 a month or 5,000 a year. So how does this compare to that?
the minimum you could get away with is 150 a month if you're doing month to month, because you have to
Awesome.
have
Cool.
on the Teams plan, the minimum is 5 subscribers.
Right.
So, but you get, then you get 5 licenses, so you can use it different ways. But that's the minimum. But so in order to get commercial grade privacy, that's the minimum price. Yep.
That's awesome. I did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Very cool. Let's see what else here. We have a few minutes left.
Yeah, I don't see.
Somebody says, "Are you both talking so fast because you're trying to keep up with AI speed?" Well, yes, as a matter of fact, we are. We're already obsolete.
Well, it's a little bit. Plus, this was only a half-hour session, right? So I was trying to condense a lot, and I was trying to like show some really good real-world use cases. And again, I will share the prompts, and so if I mean, happy to have those sent out as well. So, because I just think it's useful to be able to see those in addition to the slides, right? Because it's good to see, how people think about making these tools do what they do. So,
Let's see what other questions are worth reading out here real quick. We've touched on a lot of these already. Well, let me just clarify the point that you just said then, Stephen, right? Because somebody did ask for clarity. So you can't do teams without at least two in your firm. Your point is you need at least five. So you're getting five licenses to get teams.
so,
Right? So
so,
that's 150.
yeah, so ChatGPT, it's a minimum of two.
Right.
For Anthropic, for teams, it's a minimum of five.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, does this still apply also then for Claude Cowork, for example? So once you're on the team's plan, then you can presumably use Claude Work with the same sort of.
You can.
Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So once you've got the team's plan, you got access to co-work, which is, like I said, it's amazing
Yep.
because the thing, and I went over it really fast, is in a regular Claude chat, right? It's they call it a context window. It's 200,000 tokens, which is about 150,000 words, give or take. If you use Cowork instead and you choose the Opus model or the Sonnet model in there, it actually unlocks the 1 million token context window. Same thing as if you're using Claude Codes. You can have much, much larger conversations. You can open many more documents before things start to compact and it loses the thread. So that actually opens up a lot of use cases that you don't get in normal chat. But you don't have the same kind of projects. There's trade-offs to using it too. But it opens up, like I said, I mean, I use it all the time. It's great for working on an entire directory of documents because you can actually reason across a whole bunch of things at one time. And
And
it's
so
hard.
this could be an alternative then for those who are using, say, the one or even the $200 plans of Claude Code. This would be an alternative to that because this would bundle in presumably the Claude Code functionality too.
It does, but you get much higher usage on the
Right,
100 or
exactly.
$200 plans. Yeah.
Perfect.
But
Awesome.
again, those plans are consumer plans. So you don't
Right.
have
No,
commercial
exactly.
protections.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah.
Um, those are the meatiest questions anyway, because a lot of these are somewhat overlapping. Well, I guess the point then of this discussion, somebody asks, do you have to redact the proprietary information on commercial license? The point is, well,
No,
no, that's the point.
that's the whole point. Yeah. The point of the commercial license. And by the way, so if you here, let me just pull up something really fast. I'll share my screen. Um, I just did a whole article on this recently. And so if you go to smithsteven.com, there was this one right here. The $200 a month AI plan has the same privacy as free, right? Okay. So this is, I went through every one of the tools, all ChatGPT, all Claude, all Gemini, all Grok Perplexity, and compared the consumer plans, the commercial plans, right? Enterprise business. You can actually see what trains on your data, what doesn't. Here's a completely up to date as of 2 weeks ago version. So you can have complete confidence. And I go through each platform to describe them all. So you can actually get a really deep understanding of what all those privacy policies look like. So if you're looking for that, just go there. Again, it's completely free, but it's completely up to date. So
Yeah, I think that more or less covers them then.
okay.
That should
Well,
do
look,
it.
I know we're at time, and again, thank you for the opportunity to come and present again. I love talking about these things. Happy to help. And if people have questions, please reach out.
Awesome, Stephen. Thanks so much. It's been fantastic. Thanks everybody for
My
joining.
pleasure.
Have a swell rest of the day.
All right. Bye, everybody.